I'm sitting here with ACT leader David Seymour. This is the last weekend of the election campaign. I guess why Hawke's Bay? I mean, does that sort of suggest that ACT sees support in the region here?
Look, the Bay's been good to us, and we want to be good to the Bay. It's an area that's filled with people who are committed to making a difference in their own lives. And they've also faced some bigger challenges. And I don't just mean the floods, which have been a failure of investment in infrastructure and stop banks. I also mean with crime, where Hawke's Bay is literally the place that the government decided it might be a good idea to give gangs money to be nice back to us. Hawke's Bay has suffered badly. Meanwhile, it's filled with people who are busy producing food, not just for New Zealand, but for the world, and find themselves whacked by an avalanche of bad regulation. So there's a bunch of areas where I think the crossover between ACT and the voter is probably stronger than elsewhere, but Hawke's Bay is far from the only place where those are concerns.
And Rob Douglas is standing in Tukutuku and he's on the cusp of getting in on the list. What would you say to Hawke's Bay voters about a party vote for ACT?
Well, look, I mean, this country has real challenges to overcome. Hawke's Bay is probably at the forefront of that due to recent events. And if we're going to overcome our challenges, we need a stable, united government that's ready to fix the economy, cut down wasteful spending, and deal with the division left behind by Labor from day one. Now, having people like Rob Douglas around the table is going to make an enormous difference. He's got a good background in the property industry as a valuer. He's an honest guy and a hard-working guy, and you see a lot of those pink signs. That's partly his initiative from our team around here. Having someone like Rob in Parliament would be good. And it's a very strong reason. You may be giving your electorate vote to another party, but a very strong reason to give your party vote to ACT.
You visited Te Aratika Academy, which is, as I understand, was formerly a charter school. Given the chance, would you revive opportunities for organisations like that across the country to, I guess, come back and be charter schools once again?
Yeah, definitely. And it was really interesting to meet Ronnie Raquel again. I mean, I've met her many times and visited Te Aratika Academy many times over the last, must be 7 years, or 8, or certainly 6 years, maybe 7. So, you know, they're ambitious. They want the charter model back. They want to help more kids. They want to expand from a boys-only school to a boys and a girls school. And I think that's really positive. It shows the charter model hasn't gone away. It's just been a bit dormant, and we're going to bring it back with a vengeance, bigger and better than ever before.
Do you see any other schools in Hawke's Bay that could use that model?
It's a funny question, and I don't want to sound like I'm trying to dodge the question, but it's actually up to the school to apply rather than the politician to pick them out. So I haven't really thought about that. Our job is to create the opportunity and see who wants to go for it.
I guess shifting focus, crimes obviously, or law and order has been a strong plank of ACT's campaign. Anna Lorpe, the local Labor MP, has mentioned that when people come to prison, they often bring associates for when people are spending time there. Would the, I guess, increase in prison numbers, would that be spread across the country, or would that be in particular areas or regions? Or
I mean, our view is that, you know, politicians need to set the goals, such as we want safer streets, and then let the bureaucrats get on with delivering without lots of political interference. So we wouldn't say, you know, you must put these new prison beds or cells here, but there's a logical aspect to this that it doesn't make sense to move people far away from their family and support networks. You know, if there's no extra demand for locking people up in a particular area, then I don't think that we should be increasing the prison population in an area people are already being shipped to now. So I would suggest the answer would be no, but ultimately it would be up to corrections to decide. You know, we're saying 2,000 extra beds. Corrections can decide where that is.
Circling back to, you mentioned obviously the cyclone, and it's a huge thing for this region. National have come out and said that they'll create a specific ombudsman. Given that you're likely to be in partnership, is it like, do you see that just as more bureaucracy, or what other approach would you take?
Look, I'm open to the idea, but I just always warn people, if a job's not going well, creating a new person to fill that job can be a big mistake. We thought really hard about a Minister for Regulation, and we decided, look, there's already people doing that job, they're just not doing it well, so we're going to reorganise them. But when it comes to, well, you've got an ombudsman, is there something that ombudsman can't do? And if so, what would we need to change so that they can do it? Before you then introduce a second ombudsman, because if you haven't solved the problem for the first ombudsman, maybe you're still going to have the problem with the second ombudsman. So I'm in favour of getting down to problem solving at a practical level, rather than just adding another person and giving them a job title.
I guess given the trend of how things are polling, do you think the country has moved to the right in general?
I think the country has realised it's going in the wrong direction, and there's a lot of areas where it's going in the wrong direction have been caused by a left-wing government. They want to spend more money. We want to save money so people can get their living costs under control. They want to let prisoners out of prison. We want to put them back in prison so the streets are safe. They want to divide us into a partnership between races. We want to say the Treaty of Waitangi gives the same rights and duties to all. Now, you can say our positions are right-wing if you like, but I think to most people, it's just about what is going to make this country, affordable, safe and united, versus what has made it unaffordable, unsafe and divided.
Just to pick up there, you mentioned unaffordable, and obviously cost of living is a huge issue for people on top of the cyclone recovery. One place that people are feeling it the most is at the supermarket with food and groceries. Given that ACT is more of a market-oriented approach to things, do you think would you try and entice another supermarket chain into the country to help, boost that competition and perhaps lower prices that way?
Yeah, I think it's really important that we ask ourselves, how do we get more competition into the supermarket sector? Why has Aldi, for example, not come and set up here when they are in Australia? And our view is, look, it's too hard to bring money into the country as a foreign investor. If you set up a supermarket chain as a foreign investor, then every time you build a new site, you're buying sensitive land, you have to go through the OIO. Meanwhile, the New Zealand competitors don't have that cost, so you'd be mad to come here. We need to make it easier for foreigners to invest in New Zealand. Every time you try and start a distribution centre or a supermarket, you've got to get resource management consent. That puts huge cost and bureaucracy onto people. So there's actually a bunch of areas where we could do much better.
And just lastly, do you see the regions like Hawke's Bay becoming strongholds for ACT in the future?
Yeah, I do. Look, we've got talented people here. We've got a good alignment of values. We want to keep working hard for all of New Zealand, and yet there'll always be places where that support's more concentrated, and it seems to be that Hawke's Bay is one of those places. And so we're going to keep working hard to win the trust of your vote, and we hope that people in the Bay will party vote ACT so we can get a stable, united government ready for real change on day one.
ACT leader David Seymour, thank you.
Thank you.